introduce you, and then we'll get going. Okay. Perfect. Okay, looks like we are live. So I hope that everyone had a great time in the I Am Remarkable workshop and you are ready to take those next steps towards celebrating yourselves and your accomplishments, because you are all truly very remarkable in so many different ways. So now we are going to move to our closing, where we are going to have 5 wonderful speakers who are going to have very short 5-minute presentations, speaking on their own topic. That will hopefully give you some key takeaways before we end the day. They have some great advice, amazing knowledge. So first up, we have Jenny Cravens, who is going to talk about the difference and importance of mentors, advocates, and sponsors. So Jenny, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. Let me fix this. All right. Hopefully I'm coming across clearly. So I'm going to talk about 3 really important relationships. Nobody succeeds and thrives in this world without having relationships. And we hear a lot about mentors. And mentors are people that are generally wise and have a lot of experience, or at least more experience than you in a certain area. Ideally, there's somebody that you share values with. And having a mentor can really help you with making big decisions like career strategy decisions, or how to pivot your career, or big decisions that you're grappling with in your current role, or definitely mentors can help you if you're dealing with a dilemma. What is important about mentors, though? An ideal mentor is not somebody within your current organization or even your current family. And that's because there is bound to be a natural conflict of interest that might come up if you put somebody in that position of trying to be your mentor and they are also within the same organization, because sometimes your best interests might differ from the interests of the organization. With a mentor, you are lucky to have 1 or 2 at any given time in your career. I've definitely gone for long periods of time where I didn't have a real active mentor relationship, but the best way to find a mentor is through shared interests and common background. Common background can be where you went to college. Common background can be going to a conference like this one and meeting somebody and striking up a conversation. So the next type of relationship is the sponsor. Very similar to mentors, but they're more like a coach than a mentor, because a sponsor is within your organization. They generally, ideally hold a position of power or authority at a higher level than you do. And these people can influence your advancement. And sponsors, prior sponsors from organizations you've left or colleges you graduated from, make great mentors. But keep in mind that if somebody is a sponsor, that means that that person may always have a conflict of interest when they're guiding you or coaching you. That conflict of interest may be that they have to keep the organization's needs and goals in mind, first and foremost, for them to do their job. And so that might end up having them withhold information or not be able to give you a completely unbiased response to questions. So sponsors are best for providing constructive feedback and support, or coaching you in your current role or how to advance within the organization. And they're great for helping you build relationships and navigating politics within the organization. And the best way to find a sponsor is to work on a project with them or for them. So that leaves the most important relationship, and that is advocates or allies, as Anne will talk about in a little bit. So advocate can be anybody who is supportive of your success. So an advocate is somebody that you appreciate or you enjoy talking to or working with. And the role of the advocate is to provide companionship, moral support, help you with problem sharing, sharing helpful information with you, but that's not gossip. If somebody is gossiping with you, they may not be an advocate, they may be the opposite. And collaborating on achieving a goal. So as far as advocates go, you can't have too many advocates. And the best way to find an advocate is to be an advocate yourself. So I've got about 30 seconds left. So my two last pieces of advice: don't mix up a mentor with a sponsor, because if you think of a sponsor as your mentor, you may be putting them in a really awkward position at some point. And they may end up having to do what's best for the organization, and then you're going to feel betrayed, and they're really just doing their job. My next piece of advice is, if you're grappling with something that can't really be addressed really quickly, and it's going to take some time to work through, I highly encourage you to consider hiring a coach that you've hired that's from outside your organization, who can help you figure out how to best leverage these other relationships. Because when you're dealing with something big, you don't want to necessarily overtax other people and be calling them, weekly on your latest. So that's where sometimes your best relationship is a hired professional. That's all I've got.
So much, Jenny. I think we forget really how important having so many different supports across your journey is, from multiple people, from multiple roles, and from everywhere. It's so, so important. So thank you, Jenny. Coco. Awesome. So next up, we will have Coco Wu on the topic of stop saying sorry. Coco, take it away.
Hello. It's a tough job to follow up after Jenny. My name is Coco, and I'm the Associate Dean of the College of Business. When I was in grad school, I heard my mentor saying, you ladies, you guys need to be careful next time you use the word sorry. And I didn't understand why. Now I know. My topic today is, stop saying sorry. But why are we doing this topic? Well, because women do apologize more. There is actually research to show that, women do apologize a whole lot more often than men. Specifically, they study how often women use the word sorry. Now, why do women apologize more often? It seems that most women don't want to offend other people. They don't want to be perceived as offensive. They want to be perceived as nice. So that's why women tend to apologize more. But my point here is not about why we do it. It's more about, well, does it work? And why should we stop? Research shows that actually it does not work. Specifically compared to men, a woman's apology works a whole lot less effective than a man's apology. Research also showed that when the recipients of the apology are women, a woman's apology works even less well with a female audience. So now that we know it doesn't work, now why didn't it work? Typically because we say it too often. The more we say it, the less likely it's going to work. So stop it. Practice stop saying sorry. The word sorry originates from the word sore. So there are only two circumstances where you should say sorry. One, where you feel sympathy or sorrow for another person, or you feel regret, contrition for having done something wrong. Other than those two circumstances, you should not use the word sorry. Now, why is saying sorry bad in a professional environment? Throughout the conference today, we talked about the imposter syndrome, for example. We talk about how to advocate for yourself. The word sorry, to me, in a professional environment, implies or sometimes actually indicate uncertainty or not being sure of what someone is doing. So let's say I'm talking to someone, but that someone's very apologetic for something that has nothing to do with them. What could trigger in the back of my head is, well, can this person be confident enough to handle the kind of things that I need to delegate to her or to him for that matter? So there is a potential damage to actually using the word sorry a little bit too often. But should you learn how to have a genuine, sincere apology? Absolutely, yes. If you live long enough, if you work in a professional environment long enough, surely most of us will make a mistake at some point in our professional career. So do practice a sincere apology in both written and spoken form. Do practice making an apology. Why? When you say sorry less often and when you do actually apologize, your words are given more weight, and you will discover that as a useful professional skill. And that's all I have for this topic today. Questions?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Coco. I'm always so interested in the differences between gender identities and how you present yourself and how seriously people take you. And it's always super interesting because there's always such a big difference between the two. So again, thank you, Coco. I will now bring up Anna for on how to be an ally to other women. So Anna, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Olivia. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay,
great.
Well, thank you for inviting me today. My topic is similar to Jenny's, so but has a little bit of a different angle to it. So I have a short story to share with you, but before I do that, I just wanted to give you a brief introduction of myself. So I'm currently a full professor in the STEM field of chemistry at CW, but I'm also on a temporary assignment at the National Science Foundation in DC, where I've been for the last year and a half. I'm actually physically in Ellensburg. As you can imagine, my field is male-dominated with little racial, which sometimes can feel quite isolating, even as a white cisgendered woman, which I know comes with privileges in itself. So my short story is based on a revelation that I had quite recently, and that took me back 25 years when I was a PhD student in the Environmental Engineering and Sciences department at Caltech. So sadly, one of my former thesis advisors, who was a guru in the science of water chemistry, had just passed away of old age a few months ago. And immediately, a group of us who were contemporary students, basically friends of mine now, started communicating over email and exchanging stories in memory of Dr. Morgan. We were about 6 or 5, I think, guys and 2 women. And what was interesting to note during this interchange of emails, or exchange of emails, was that the guys, of which there were about 5, had a very different narrative from my female colleague and my own. By the way, we're all professors now in various universities across the country. The guys' stories revolved around their interaction when they played basketball with Dr. Morgan at lunchtime and after classes and so on, basically a locker room type of experience that they had. Whereas we, my female colleague and our friend and I, our experiences were limited to professional interactions, such as in the classroom and during oral exams, or thesis defenses and such that were quite different. And even though I knew that this professor was a kind person and probably empathetic, I was still very intimidated by his scientific stature and as a world-class scientist. So. And it's not like the guys didn't think highly of him as a scientist, but they had this privilege of getting to know this professor in a very different level than we had. And I cannot but think that this experience for them, going through oral exams and the thesis defense, was very different from that we went through. And that this differential level of interactions also had a very likely different effect on them in terms of just interactions, maybe with connections or information that they received from him versus what we received. So I think these kind of seemingly unimportant interactions play a very beneficial consequence in someone's career. And where they had this benefit, we probably did not have that benefit. So when I realized this just a couple of months ago, I wrote to my buddies and explained just that, but no one responded. So in my mind, I thought, well, I want to think that they likely had not thought about it either, and that they kind of rattled them a little bit and maybe made them think about their interactions with the professor that was very different from ours, and that this had an effect on us, or a different effect on them as opposed to me. And hopefully that they would take this into consideration as they're interacting with their female and male students from now on, or have already done so. I don't know. But and I'm not saying that playing basketball with your professor is wrong to do. I would probably have done exactly the same if I'd had the opportunity, but I didn't. But the important thing here is that we are all aware of these differences and interactions that are seemingly so unimportant, but they have real consequences. And one of them is feeling a sense of belonging, which is very important. Another take-home message from this story is that we as women can be actively pursuing the same, similar, not the same perhaps, type of activities, and thereby creating networks and allies that are really quite important from what I have experienced. So it's not always very easy because, like in this situation at Caltech, we had one female professor in a department of 20. But there are network groups out there for women in various different fields, and it's important to seek those out. In addition, like Jenny had already pointed out, there is also the person-to-person interaction, the one act at a time, one word at a time, importance that creates change in people. And I think to help each other out at every level is very important, and we shouldn't underestimate the power of women connecting, women when they connect and support each other at work or in school or wherever that would be. Sharing information is powerful through these connections. It provides possibilities and experiences that you otherwise wouldn't get. So now thinking back 25 years, if I could make a difference, of course, I would have liked to have had more female faculty. We were also very few female students, but it would have been better maybe if we had congregated and hung out more and shared experiences. There are now at Caltech last I checked, 3 out of 20 are female now. So we're moving in the right direction, even if it's slowly. But every one of us needs to contribute and can contribute in this movement by being allies for each other. That's what I have for you.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much. I think we really underestimate how much those out of work experiences count towards your sense of belonging. And especially in male-dominated fields, you are very likely to be left out and kind of tossed to the side, which can be very discouraging. But that's why building that network of other women is so important. So thank you so much, Anna.
You're welcome.
All right, and so now we will bring up Morgan Bliss, and they are going to talk about the importance of setting boundaries. So Morgan?
They are also going to move their sticky note over so they can't see their face. So my topic is on setting boundaries in the workplace and basically unlearning how to be a workaholic, because I am a self-professed workaholic. It is my preferred form of self-harm. So I'm faculty in the Safety and Health Management program. So this relates to your personal safety and health in the workplace. So first I want to talk about what boundaries are not. Boundaries are not you being difficult or you being whiny or being manipulative or trying to control other people. It's not you being overly sensitive. Boundaries are necessary. They're the foundation of our relationships. And that's a lot of what we've been talking about for the last 3 speakers. So what boundaries are is telling yourself and other people what is okay and what's not okay. It's you communicating your needs to yourself and also to those around you. And most of the information that I'm giving to you right now is from the work of Dr. Faith Harper and also from Brené Brown. They're both fabulous. So a hard no is a boundary. A maybe is a boundary. And the yes with limits is also a boundary. And these are constantly changing over time in different situations and in different relationships. So when you do have boundaries, you feel this calm, generous respect for yourself and respect for others. But when you don't have good boundaries at work, you feel overwhelmed, you feel anxious, you feel out of control, stressed, kind of angry, caring too much about what other people think of you. And so there's a bunch of different types of boundaries that can be crossed in the work environment, whether it's physical boundaries, property boundaries, emotional and relational boundaries, intellectual boundaries, time boundaries. I'm terrible with managing my time boundaries. And so this is a continuous calibration for us about our more flexible boundaries in the workplace. And we have a hard time setting boundaries at work, specifically here in the United States, because the community and social structures that we have in place they really impact your ability to articulate your boundaries and have the expectation that they're going to be respected. And that's because most of our social support systems are tied to work, our healthcare, our benefits, our leave, our income, our sense of community. And having all of that tied to work creates an environment where coercive control is a concern. Like you feel like you're being manipulated into giving up your boundaries just for the privilege of working, right? So that's a problem. And employers can create a sense of ownership around you, your time, and your creativity that's continuously enforced, but they don't own you. And sometimes we get stuck in that trap that we're like, oh, I have to do this because of work. No, you don't. And so this really gets at the idea of consent. Boundaries are about consent. Boundary violations are what happens when somebody acts without your consent. And if you did not give an informed voluntary permission or an agreement for an activity or interaction that is occurring, then they don't have your consent, right? And that's where we have issues. So how you start setting boundaries at work is clarifying your expectations of and your priorities for what you're held accountable for your job at your job. Like, what is your actual job? You need to have it like pretty well delineated. And you're going to set boundaries, set limits for yourself and communicate those limits as clearly as you can. And whenever a boundary is crossed, you address it as soon as you're able to. And that's not easy. You pause, you take time to think before responding to any additional requests. You attend to your emotional responses, and you see if it's something that you have the option of saying no to, right? And so if others react really negatively to your boundary, that is evidence that the boundary was necessary and that it's working. So if you can try saying no in small, low-risk ways, like little add-on projects that somebody wants to pull you in on and you don't have time for, but you want to seem like a good teammate, but you're going to do not a great job anyways, try saying no. It's really hard. Like, I am a people pleaser. I just want to say yes to all the work and get all the credit and try to be assertive with your communication style. But having these clear boundaries is what helps you unlearn how to be a workaholic. Because a lot of times we use busyness as like a proxy for productivity. And if we don't have clear indicators of what it means to be productive in our job, we're just going to do a bunch of stuff in a really visible manner. So practice being bored, protect your downtime, and schedule time to be offline, and hold that boundary for yourself. And that's like the first step, is just protecting your time. That's all I got.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Morgan. Setting boundaries is something that is so important, but something so many of us, myself included, really, really struggle with. And I really liked how you mentioned with yourself, because that is something I have not done very well.
Me neither.
I feel a lot more confident with some steps to go forward. So thank you so much. And so now I am going to bring up our final guest, Sabrina Dominguez, who is going to talk to us about giving back. So Sabrina.
Hi, everybody.
Perfect.
Oh, wow. Is that feedback me? I hope not. Okay, so I'm Sabrina Dominguez. I am a proud Central graduate from the class of 2018, and I'm going to talk about giving back and why you should take that personally. As some of you may know, I was awarded the Young Philanthropist of the Year award by the Alumni Association this year, and that has been great as far as opening the door to many conversations about what I do and why I do it, but more importantly, how other people can step up and help. So people always ask me about the why, like, why do I give back? And I actually have a great name for why it matters to me. And so I don't know if any of y'all have seen the Last Dance documentary on Netflix. I highly recommend it. But basically, this describes my philanthropy motto to a T. So for the next few minutes, I just want you to think about what you take personally in your life. And I know this is a business conference, and so this may seem counterintuitive, but in the business world, a lot of people will say you shouldn't take things personally. But when I focus on giving and philanthropy and corporate social responsibility, I figure out what I take personally or what my peers take personally, and I think it's extremely important. So there are quite a few things that I take personally in this world. So just reflect on what causes an internal gut check in like your stomach. Because of the life I've lived, I take so many things personally. So this may surprise you, but I used to be a very shy and quiet kid. But I also have a lot of passion for certain projects and people and needs. And so because of that, I found my voice, which is why I had to be a part of this conference, because I found my voice through my passion and what matters to me. And that's helped me amplify voices that need to be amplified and shed light on needs within my community. And so once you find your voice and what fuels your fire, you will be in the perfect position to give back to your surrounding communities with an authentic purpose. So for example, because I grew up in the foster care system and I know what it's like to be insecure in housing or insecure with finances or with food, I take it personally when I see people going hungry. And so that's why when I see Siwoo Push raising money for their pantry, I have to donate. And if I don't have the resources to donate, I have to amplify that need. Like I have to go on social media and say they need help. Or when I see the Women in Business Club putting on a great event like this, I had to be involved. Like I had to accept and say, yes, I will speak because I know what it's like to be a young woman entering the business world in a male-dominated profession. And so I take that personally. I feel like that gut check to like have a bias for action. And so I think what's most important for people to remember is when you find out what you take personally and what really matters to you, when you have an authentic passion about it, there are just always 3 easy ways that you can give back. And so I always focus on the big 3: your time, your treasures, and your talents. So my time, when I'm fresh out of college, I had a lot of student loans. So maybe I didn't have a bunch of money to donate, but you know what I could do was I could call current students and I could help them navigate either classes or resume workshops. And as I got more into my career, maybe I didn't have much time. So like last year, for example, I work in home building. It was super busy. I didn't have much time to help with anything, but I was working a lot of overtime. So I suddenly had a lot more treasure money to donate. And if I was super talented or if I had a lot of hobbies, then I would donate that as well. And so say you're a great graphic designer, like artist, you can donate your talents to helping communities in need. And I think the really beautiful thing about all of this is that there's always an ebb and flow. So in wherever you are in your personal and professional journey, there will be times where you can donate time, but maybe not treasures, or treasures, but not your talents. And it's all about giving what you have whenever you can. And then if you're still unsure if that's too many choices, I think one of the best ways to give, if you can't make a commitment right now, is amplify voices that need to be heard. So if you see a need and you don't know what to do about it, the very small thing you can do is say, you know what, I'm gonna like, share, comment, engage with that post and make sure people see that need so it can get filled. And did I go over time? That's all I have right now.
No, you were perfect.
Like a speed talk.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. I really, really love that philosophy of take it personally, because that really is what you should be focused on. And also just the importance of paying it forward with your time, treasures, or talents. Like I know there are so many people that helped me when I really needed it. And now I am super grateful to be in a position to help people out in similar ways.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. Right, so that is going to conclude this year's Find Your Voice conference. I just wanted to thank you all so much for spending the day with us, and to also announce the winner of our giveaway that we were having for the conference. So Ricky Green, you are the winner of our giveaway basket. I will reach out to you after the conference and make sure that we can get that to you. And then of course, if you would like to be more involved with women in business, feel free to reach out to me. I will put my email down here in the chat. or you can follow us on Instagram, which is siwoo.wib for updates. So again, thank you so much, everyone, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.